Today we are going to do one very bold topic, and definitely this is a question that has fascinated man all through history. What happens soon after, seconds after death? We are in a hospital. We know we are going to die. Then people around us see us dead. But how about us? Or we meet with an accident and then we are dead. But what happens after that? And more importantly, how do we know what happens? It's a very important question. See, there are two possibilities. Number one, nothing survives. Dead means completely dead. Nothing after. In fact, those who believe in mainstream science and even otherwise think that nothing survives. But nothing survives is one possibility. One possibility. But if that is the only possibility, we won't be talking about it now. There seems to be another possibility. That possibility is we become spirits. Okay. So we don't know under what circumstances we become spirits and what circumstances we become nothing. That we don't know. Because we don't know under what conditions we become spirits. Nobody found out. But what we know from verifiable evidence is that some of us will become spirits. It is coming out to be very clear. A lot of empirical evidence. Okay. So how do we know about this? We have data regarding what happens to people when they are clinically dead. Clinically dead. What is meant by clinical death? Clinical death takes place when there is cardiac arrest, heart not functioning. So pulse, BP, no. And within few seconds, brain, no. This is what clinical death is. And if man is not resuscitated, within few minutes, then that person cannot get back to life. then we'll call him dead. But let me tell you, this clinical dead word came only after advances in medicine. Because even after dying for a few minutes, one is in a position to get back. And technology to get back through resuscitation came in very recently, 1967. 1967. So, people are dying for a few minutes and coming back to life. Clinically dead for a few minutes and coming back to life from 60s. But before that, they are only dying. Okay. So, what is the experience of the people during when they are dead? That is called near death experience. NDE. Near death experience is the word coined by Raymond Moody. He wrote a book in 1975 titled Life After Life. He's saying there is a life after life. So experiences of the clinically dead are called near-death experiences. But I would like to say that Raymond Moody, though he is a pioneer in this near-death experiences, he is like equivalent to Stevenson for rebirth cases, a pioneer. So it is he who gave this word. But I would like to say this in a way is a misleading name. Near death gives the impression that you are nearer to the death, whereas these cases refer to death for short time, which should be called short death experiences. Near death doesn't mean you are nearer to death. You are actually dead, but for a brief time. It should be called short death experience rather than near death experiences. But anyway, because everybody uses this word near death experience, we will go by this word. But I'm just making a clarification. Near death does not mean closer to death. Actual death, but for minutes. And there are cases where some people are dead in that position even for 100 plus minutes. So, these are the actual death cases. I think of something like this. Suppose this world, our world. There is something like heaven, the other world. Near death means somebody crossing this and staying there for a few minutes and coming back. Think of a wall. Whereas actual death is crossing and not coming back. Why this analogy is important is that they are there on the other side of the wall. So in NDEs and actual death may are the other side of the wall. Okay. So somebody crossed over, was there for a few minutes, but came back. That is NDE. Okay. So we know about the people who crossed over, spent few minutes and came back. It is from them we know what life is on the other side. Is this clear? Okay. But before we go to the life on the other side, we will discuss how this is evidence-based. Evidence-based. We are giving a scientific perspective, and science, not that we know the theory, but the evidence. Okay. And one very important thing about ND is, as opposed to rebirth cases, is that rebirth cases are few and calls for a detailed investigation. Whereas NDEs are too many, and NDEs can be easily produced. We can't produce a rebirth. If rebirth happens, if it is reported, we can study. But NDE can be produced. How can NDE be produced? It is like this. Any hospital which is dealing with cardiac arrest will have some people during clinically dead stage, and after they are resuscitated, one has to only ask them, what is your experience during the clinical death? Then they will give NDE. That's all. So each hospital can generate NDE data. Very easy. And I will tell you statistically how that data can be generated. How much? In these studies, for example, in this study by this doctor studied 344 cardiac arrest survivors. Out of 344, 18% reported NDEs. And this is one study. There is another study by Bruce Grayson. This done in 2003. He studied 116 patients, out of which 15.5% reported NDEs. Okay. Which means near-death experiences are very easy to study. You can have thousands and thousands on a regular basis, unlike rebirth cases. So it seems minimum 15+ % of clinical deaths are leading to NDEs. But nobody found out any correlation between the physical and psychological or cultural background of the person versus NDE. They don't know. So that is why we can't say what happens during NDE happens to everybody, because NDE itself is not happening to everybody who is clinically dead. Okay. So in that sense, NDEs have more empirical scientific value compared to rebirth. I'm sorry, not that more scientific value, but it is that easily it can easily be generated. NDEs can easily be generated compared to rebirth cases. Okay. So, next question is, you are not dead, you are in hospital and clinically dead. You are clinically dead. And you are having an NDE. And what does NDE mean? It appears you become a spirit. So we will see what actually is to become a spirit. Patient is in operation table here. And doctors are doing surgery. Okay. At some stage, suppose he becomes clinically dead. Clinically dead. Then, what is reported is that patient finds himself here. It can be on a ceiling or a window. Okay, or even mid-air. Mid-air outside the building. Patient suddenly discovers that he is outside. This is called out-of-body experience. Out-of-body experience is a shock. Okay. But out-of-body experience in itself is not such a difficult thing, because by taking some drugs, one can have this out-of-body experience. Shaman in simple societies take certain drugs and get this out-of-body experience. Out-of-body experience is more common. Okay. Second, that is the first shock. But out-of-body experience is a subjective experience that can't be verified. But one can have out-of-body experience easily. Next shocking thing comes. The patient sees. That is important. Sees what? He is seeing the body, the doctors, and equipment, and maybe outside the building. He is seeing. The point is, how is he seeing when the eyes are here? So, eyes closed and brain dead. So, how can he see? That is one. Second thing is, to see Um, okay. Okay, second thing is, when he sees, it doesn't seem to be using the eyes here, even if eyes are there here, assume, because the vision he is getting is from the viewpoint of this point. This is the point from which he sees. So whatever he can see from this point only will see. It means it is as if the floating body here has eyes, not the floating body is using the mechanism here. No. Which means this floating body, now let us call it spirit, is seeing as if the spirit has eyes and the brain, though it doesn't have brain or the eyes. Brain dead, no eyes. We know vision is produced using brain and eyes, but now there is eyes mostly closed and brain dead, but this spirit is seeing. That is shocking. And this can be verified. How? After coming out, patient says, this is what I saw. Verifiable. So many verifiable OBEs took place. That is about verifying. In one study done by John Holden, in 100 OBEs, 90% correct. The details they gave during the OBE correct. 8% minor errors and 2% false. Which means what the person is saying as what he has seen is verified. Okay. Which means he is seeing without eyes and without brain. Okay. In one particular case, okay, one may think, we think we see things through eyes, but when they are saying they are seeing, what kind of seeing is that? It appears what they are seeing is what we see, except that it happens to be even more intense. So if you want to know exactly how they see, for example, one particular patient by name Maria, okay, studied by a social worker by name Kimberly Clark Sharp, who was with the patient at the time. This took place in 1977. At a very early stage, she reported that she saw the entire surgery from the ceiling, and then she also reported that outside the building she saw on a window a shoe, a dark blue shoe with a white lace. So Maria, after she woke up, she couldn't understand what was going on. And then she told Clark that this is what I felt. You go and bring me that shoe that I saw. So this nurse didn't think so, but to avoid creating anxiety in the patient, she said, okay, I will go out and look out for shoe. And there was actually a shoe. And then after close analysis, it is found that that shoe can be observed only when the patient is about 2 or 3 stories and in the mid-air. It is from that point only that shoe on that particular window in a different floor can be seen. Okay. So what is the vision experience? Vision experience is as if the body is having the eyes. It's verified. And next, one can hear. And one can smell. To give you this case of hearing, one patient, this took place in 1991. Okay, Palm Reynolds. He is very good at music, and he said he saw one equipment as an electric toothbrush. Electric tooth he saw, and then it was making a noise which to him looked a natural D. A natural D. So to me this is interesting. He is calling some equipment electric toothbrush, and that equipment technical name was Midas Rex bone. That is what the surgeons use. So Midas Rex bone looked like an electric toothbrush. Why? This man is not knowledgeable about the equipment. But then this man, who is knowledgeable about music, could understand that it was producing a natural D. Which means person's skill set is carried. Knowledge is there. So here it looked like electric toothbrush to him from that point again, and then natural D. In fact, doctors thought it was C and not D, but the patient insisted that it was making C when it was not being used or put on the table, but it was making a D in the hands of the doctor, which means it is an extremely clear sense of sound. Okay. And so is the case with smell. Smell, this time one person by name Rajiv Party, 2010. He was an anesthesia doctor. He sensed smell also. But of course, more on him later. So which means that all these three senses, skills, knowledge, intact. Okay. So you can say this is extrasensory perception. Extrasensory perception. Okay. So OB, extrasensory perception of three senses. Next 3. The patients see themselves out above, but they say they cannot talk, they cannot touch. There are some, they overhear the conversation. There are cases where the doctors think, okay, this man is dead. But the patient saying, no, I am not dead, please work. Okay. So, they can't talk. They can't touch. Okay. All this is like spirit. Okay. I don't know if you watched this movie. Endukante Premanta. Endukante Premanta. In this movie, heroine is murdered in an accident. Okay. So something comes out of her. She thinks she is running away, but she overhears the conversation that she is dead. So she looks back. Yes. Her body was there. She is shocked. She goes, looks at her own body. When others around think she is dead, she wants to tell them, no, I am not dead, I am not dead. She couldn't touch. When she touches, the arms are going through them. When she says something, they are not able to hear. That is what spirit is. And that is what is found during ending. Okay. So, this is it. Extrasensory perception. So, like spirit. Next, another thing is, they report what is called life review. Life review. Life review means some important events of life come like slides, stages like this. From the present to the childhood. So many people report this life review. And in some cases of life review, Raymond Moody thinks that past life also is reported. For example, Rajiv Patri. In the life review, he thinks he has seen 2 past lives. In one past life, he was a cruel prince whipping peasants. He saw that image. And in another past life, he was a poppy farmer in Afghanistan. Okay. But then, of course, there is no verification that Rajiv lived those past lives. That is not verified. But Rajiv thinks that they are his past lives. But in another case, Raymond Moody gives one particular incident revealed in ND that seemed to have some correlation with the actual event. So, life review is one. And next, one very, very strange thing. Next thing is talking to spirits. It is found that deceased people in spirit form come. Rajiv, for example, found his father. So Rajiv says he first went to hell, thunderstorms and very inconvenient. And then his father came. His father took him towards some light. It was a pleasant experience. So, presence of spirits is one very, very common thing that they report. But how do we verify the presence of spirits? It is not like sensory verification, right? So we can't verify, but there is some kind of verification in the sense that if the patient sees a spirit whom he thought was alive, then that's a case of verification, because it means that he didn't fantasize the spirit. So there are such cases. Okay. So patient didn't know that that man died, but found him as a spirit. That is one. And in another case, one man came across a spirit who was so affectionate towards him. He didn't know why he was so affectionate. And later, 10 years later, his mother told him that his biological father was different because she had an extramarital affair. And then that mother showed a photo of his biological father, and this man was shocked to know that it was his spirit he saw during a day. Amazing. So this is how sometimes spirits can be verified. Okay. And to this, some cultural phenomena. Okay. So NDAs are different. Some cultural phenomena. For example, Dr. Rajiv saw Om chanting. So that must be culture. But most Christians see tunnel, light, and then others report cave and things like that. So it is said some cultural phenomena. And they also report certain gods who are not human. For example, Rajiv found two gods. One is Michael and another is Raphael. And it seems he wondered why Hindu gods are doing because he found only the Christian ones. So it might be because he was staying he says he was in US from 1980s. So there seems to be a cultural phenomenon. So how do you explain? So one is P and then spirits. Okay. And even more shocking is that this extrasensory perception is not body based, which means body limitations and body defects are not carried to extrasensory perception. One blind person saw in extrasensory perception, which means only body was blind, the spirit was not. That case was Vicky Noratuk in 1973. This lady saw for the first time her wedding rings on the fingers. Earlier she could only touch, but first time she saw. From her understanding, she understood she was seeing things. Otherwise, she was blind. And also reported are the cases where the patient is colorblind, but in NDE, he sees colors, which basically means that extrasensory perception is free from the defects and the limitations of the body. So, this is what it is. And as if this is not shocking enough, there is also one more thing, which is called, which you can say, non-local movement. We discussed that spirit seeing, hearing, smelling as if she had a body. But there is one more thing, where spirit can go to any place and see. Dr. Rajiv was in US hospital, but he saw his mother and sister charting in India. He saw them so clearly. What they are talking, plus what are they wearing, what is their color. And after he was out, woke up, he called his mother and sister what they were actually doing at that time and whether they were wearing that particular dress, and it is confirmed. Which means spirit can travel non-locally. And when Rajiv was asked by the interviewer, did you have the feeling of travel from US to India? You know what he said? No, I didn't have the feeling. He said, he explained in terms of electron within an orbit, within an atom. Electron, when it gets energy, jumps from one orbit to another orbit. It does not travel, taking time. So he found himself in India, saw, and came back. And when the patient, usually when the patient is resuscitated, then the spirit comes back. So conscious return. And many have this idea of return. They say that the spirits told us, now it is not yet time for you, go. And in one case, go back, and it's like jumping in a swimming pool. Sometimes pushed, and sometimes they don't know. Finally, they found themselves in this body. And most people say this is an extremely happy and life-changing experience, after which they are less like, at least their fear of death hugely reduced, and they become more spiritual, believers in afterlife. And as Rajiv partly discovered that he felt that he led an excessively materialistic life, and now he wants to lead a spiritual life, like that. So happy, life-changing, but they returned for certain reasons, like they had some children to look after, and things like that. So this is what being reported by many people. Okay, unlike the cases of rebirth. So we will look into what it means. See, in the movie we mentioned, the girl experiences OBE. She has extrasensory perception, and she also moving non-local. She met with an accident in India. Her home is in Europe. She goes to inform her father. Non-local movement. Okay. But in the movie, she wants to inform many people, but she is not able to. But then she is shocked when a boy recognizes her. So nobody recognized her. So she was shocked that this girl was recognized by a boy. Okay. According to the movie, how did this boy recognize, only that boy recognize? Because they were lovers from past life. In the past life, they were lovers, both died, and then they reborn again. Okay. So, this is verified, this is verified, this is verified. But how about this? So, can a spirit be recognized by a normal person? Okay. It seems the answer is yes. It depends on connection, sympathy, or love. So the story is true. In one particular case, the patient was trying to tell the doctor during NDA that he was alive, continue resuscitation, and don't give up. He was shouting, but doctor was not listening. So he went out to the waiting room and told his wife, and wife came running to the emergency room and told the doctor, say, look, the doctor couldn't listen, but the wife listened. Sympathetic. But this is simply one simple instruction coming from the spirit. But Raymond Moody talks about what is called shared death experience as opposed to NDE. NDE happens among the clinically dead, but shared death experience happens among the normal. How did he get to know? He was told that one lady doctor was resuscitating her mother, but mother died. Strangely, doctor was in a position to see mother's spirit and also other spirits along with mother's spirit. So she found she was actually with her mother till some distance. Okay. So mother, doctor. So mother went this side and doctor accompanied, and then doctor came back and mother never returned. This is shared death experience. Do you know what it means? It means we have the capacity to be spirit even when we are normal, which means we consist of extrasensory perception plus sensory perception. We consist of body as well as spirit. And Moody gives one more example where husband was about to die, wife bedside, and wife and husband together read life review or watched life review. Life review is a part of NDE. So it means wife also went for some distance along with the husband. Wife came back, husband went. And there are other experiences called end of life experiences. End of life experiences are studied by Fenwick. He says end of life experiences are similar to NDEs. End of life experiences are what people experience when they are conscious and about to die, which involves seeing spirits. One woman reported that I saw not only my father who died, but also I saw my sister as a spirit. She said, I was shocked how my sister was there as a spirit. And this thing was reported to the doctor, and that doctor reported to her husband, who was Sir William Barrett, who then studied and wrote what is called Deathbed Visions in 1926. Which means a person who is about to die has seen the spirit of a person whom he didn't know died. That's how authenticity of spirits is established. Authenticity of experience of the spirits is established. So, end of life experiences are given to the people who are at the end of the life, whose brain is functioning, but shared death perfectly normal. So, which means that NDEs are not a kind of an abnormal phenomenon. NDEs probably show that what happens after death. So, coupled with SDEs plus NDEs all put together, maybe NDE is just staying there for 5 minutes and coming back. Okay, end of life experiences is about like this, whereas the shared death experience is about going nearby but coming back. Okay. If you ask me, SDE and ELE shows tenuous link between the life and the body. In one recent case, Sadhguru explained that under certain yogic practices, his wife, spirit left the body and never to come back. So he says that there is a tenuous link between the life and the body, and sometimes it can be cut off. So if SD is true, which means coming back and sometimes not coming back, accidentally may slip into. So all this means that the world of spirits is around us. Maybe spirits are hereby. And we are capable of becoming spirit at any time. We are capable of SP plus ESP. We are capable of working as a body. We are capable of working as a spirit. We are capable of non-local movement. So, putting all these things together, I think we may have the capacity to do something like go to US in no time, visit White House, come back and talk to spirits. This much human potential is there in each of us. So, ESP is a kind of a frame, capacity on which the sensory perception is acting. So we consist of enormous possibilities, and when you see these possibilities, we also see how close we are to afterlife. Thank you.